Last week at the Nürburgring, I watched a €150,000 BMW M5 get taken over by a 20-year-old Honda Civic Type R. Not because the Honda was faster, but because the BMW driver was fighting 8 different electronic nannies trying to save him. Traction control cutting power, steering assist fighting his inputs, speed limiter kicking in. The car literally wouldn't let him drive. This is the reality of modern performance cars. 2,400 kilograms of computers preventing you from actually driving. And it's about to get so much worse. One of these 9 murderers of driving joy is becoming mandatory across Europe in July 2025. Another has already killed the manual transmission in 90% of new cars. Driving is dead. Not dying, dead. The activity that defined freedom for generations, that turned transportation into passion, that made cars more than appliances. It's been systematically murdered by manufacturers who think they know you better than you. Every enthusiast feature that makes driving special has been eliminated, replaced by electronic interventions that turn you into a passenger in your own car. The numbers are catastrophic. Manual transmissions now available in just 8% of new European cars, down from 89% in 2000. Average vehicle weight has increased 47% due to safety systems. Steering feel has been replaced by PlayStation feedback, and starting July 2025, EU regulations will require speed limiters that you cannot permanently override. Your car will literally fight you to prevent exceeding speed limits. If you're watching the death of driving happen in real time and want to know who's responsible, hit that subscribe button right now. We expose the automotive truths that manufacturers don't want you knowing, and try YouTube's hype feature to spread this warning, because once these changes are implemented, there's no going back. At number 9, we have the complete destruction of steering feel through electronic power steering. Remember when you could feel the road surface through the wheel, when you knew exactly what your front tires were doing? That's gone, replaced by artificial feedback programmed by engineers who think video game steering is acceptable. But here's what they don't tell you. Electronic steering saves manufacturers €180 per car versus hydraulic systems. It also improves fuel economy by 0.2 liters per 100 kilometers. So for a fraction of a percent efficiency gain and minor cost savings, they've eliminated the primary connection between driver and car. Ferrari engineers privately admit that creating artificial steering feel is impossible. The 488 GTB uses hydraulic assistance specifically because electronic steering cannot provide adequate feedback for performance driving. Yet every Golf, every 3 Series, every Focus now has steering with less feel than a Logitech gaming wheel. The programming is insulting. BMW's variable sports steering adds artificial weight in sports mode without adding any actual feel. It's literally just making the wheel harder to turn and calling it sporty. Audi's dynamic steering actively changes ratios mid-corner, destroying any muscle memory or consistency. You're not driving anymore, you're making suggestions to a computer. Professional racing driver testimonies are damning. DTM champion Marco Wittmann says modern car steering is completely numb compared to race cars. Rally legend Sebastian Loeb called current WRC cars PlayStation cars because the electronic steering removes all natural feedback. When world champions can't feel what the car is doing, what chance do normal drivers have? Number 8 is the CVT transmission, the soul-sucking, drone-inducing, driving pleasure-murdering, continuously variable transmission that's spreading like cancer through the industry. Nissan, Honda, Toyota, they're all pushing CVTs because they're cheap to produce and improve fuel economy numbers on paper. The driving experience is torturous. Floor the throttle and the engine screams at constant RPM while the car slowly accelerates, like a dying cow being dragged uphill. There's no gear changes, no mechanical connection, no sensation of building speed. It's transportation at its most joyless, efficient, and boring. But here's what's truly evil. CVTs are destroying performance cars. The new Honda Civic comes only with CVT in many markets. The WRX, Subaru's rally icon, is available with CVT. They're putting rubber band transmissions in cars that were built for driving enthusiasm. It's like putting training wheels on a Ducati. The reliability is a joke. Jatco CVTs and Nissans are failing at 60,000 kilometers. Replacement cost? €4,000 to €5,000. The belt wears. The pulleys fail. The fluid overheats. Traditional automatics last 300,000 kilometers. CVTs are lucky to make 100,000. But manufacturers don't care because they slightly improve their fleet emissions averages. The worst part? Fake shift points. Manufacturers program CVTs to simulate gear changes because even they know customers hate the rubber band effect. So now you have a transmission pretending to be something it's not, adding complexity to create an inferior imitation of what we already had. Number 7. The absolute insult of fake engine noise. Your sporty exhaust note? It's coming through speakers. That growl when you accelerate? It's an MP3 file. BMW calls it active sound design. Volkswagen calls it Soundaktor. I call it automotive deception. The new M5 plays fake engine noise through a speaker in the firewall. The Golf GTI has a physical sound generator, essentially a speaker that drones fake bass into the cabin. Even Porsche enhances the sound electronically in the 718 because the Turbo 4 sounds like a vacuum cleaner without help. Ford went even further. The Mustang EcoBoost plays different engine sounds based on driving mode. Sport mode literally plays a V8 sound file through the speakers while you're driving a 4-cylinder. They're not even trying to hide the deception anymore. They're proud of lying to you. The technology exists to make engines sound good naturally. Exhaust tuning, resonators, intake design, all proven solutions. But fake sound is cheaper. A speaker costs €20. Proper exhaust development costs millions, so you get PlayStation sound effects instead of mechanical music. The psychological damage is real. Drivers subconsciously know something is wrong. The sound doesn't match the sensation. Your brain expects certain acoustic feedback during acceleration, and when it's artificial, the disconnect ruins involvement. It's like watching a dubbed movie, technically functional but emotionally broken. Number 6 brings us to the EU's Intelligent Speed Assistance, mandatory from July 2025. This isn't advisory, it's active intervention. The car reads speed limit signs and GPS data, then physically prevents you from exceeding them. You can temporarily override by pressing hard on the throttle, but it reactivates every time you start the car. Think about the implications. Overtaking becomes dangerous when your car suddenly cuts power mid-maneuver. Merging onto motorways gets scary when the car thinks the slip road has a different speed limit. And what happens when the sign recognition fails? In testing, these systems misread signs 23% of the time. The technology isn't ready, but they're mandating it anyway. Construction zones, temporary limits, warned signs. The cameras can't handle real-world conditions. German testing showed systems reading 30 km/h signs on side roads while you're on the Autobahn, suddenly cutting power at 130 km/h. It's not just annoying, it's dangerous. But here's the real agenda. This is step 1 towards full autonomous control. Once cars can limit speed, the next step is route control, then mandatory autonomous zones, then human driving banned entirely. They're boiling the frog slowly, and most people don't even notice. Insurance companies are already adjusting policies. Some insurers offer discounts for keeping ISA activated. Soon they'll penalize you for overriding it. Eventually, overriding might void your coverage entirely. You'll be forced to accept electronic control or become uninsurable. And number 5, the systematic murder of the manual transmission. In 2000, 89% of European cars had manual gearboxes. Today, just 8% and falling. BMW M cars, once the pinnacle of driver engagement, are automatic only. The new M5, M3 Touring, X3M all denied the option of rowing your own gears. Manufacturers claim nobody wants manuals, but that's a lie. When Porsche offered the 911 GT3 with a manual, they sold every allocation instantly. Honda Civic Type R buyers choose manual at 82%. The demand exists. Manufacturers just don't want to satisfy it because automatics are more profitable. The real reason manuals are dying? Emissions testing. Automatics can be programmed to shift optimally during testing cycles, achieving better official numbers. A human can't replicate the exact shift points needed for optimal test results, so manuals get worse official consumption figures, even though real-world driving often sees better economy with manuals. Development costs are the final nail. Creating manual versions means separate testing, certification, and production lines. For low-volume performance cars, the business case doesn't work. So even cars that should have manuals, sports cars, hot hatches, go automatic only. The driving experience loss is immeasurable. That mechanical connection between human and machine, the satisfaction of a perfect heel-toe downshift, the control of choosing your own gear, it's being eliminated for efficiency decimals and profit margins. Number 4 is the electronic parking brake, the solution to a problem that didn't exist. The simple, reliable mechanical handbrake that worked perfectly for a century has been replaced by motors, computers, and complexity that fails when you need it most. You can't modulate an electronic brake for hill starts. That gradual release that lets you balance clutch and throttle? Gone. Now you get violent engagement or nothing. Hill starts become jerky affairs, especially in manual cars where coordination was everything. Emergency use? Forget it. That progressive pulling that could save you if foot brakes failed, replaced by a computer that decides whether your emergency is valid. Many systems won't even engage above 10 kilometers per hour. When you need it most, it's programmed not to work. The failure rates are shocking. TÜV data shows electronic handbrake problems in 12% of cars over 5 years old. Cable handbrakes, less than 1% failure rate over the same period. When electronic brakes fail, they often lock on, requiring recovery to a dealer. Cost to repair? 800 to 1500 euros versus 50 euros for a cable adjustment. But the real crime? No more handbrake turns. That simple joy of sliding the rear end in snow, the emergency maneuver that could avoid accidents, the fun that could hurt nobody, eliminated by engineers who think computers know better than drivers. Number 3 exposes the pathetic revolution limits on modern engines. Remember when a Honda VTEC would scream to 9,000 RPM, when Italian V8 sang to 8,500? Now most turbocharged engines hit a wall at 6,000 RPM, some even at 5,500. They've killed the top end, the excitement, the reward for pushing harder. This isn't technical limitation, it's intentional neutering. Modern materials and engineering could easily handle higher RPM, but turbocharged engines make peak power at 5,500 RPM, so why let them rev higher? Why give drivers joy when you can give them efficiency? The BMW B58 Straight 6, one of the best modern engines, cuts fuel at 7,000 RPM. Its naturally aspirated predecessor, the N52, revved to 7,500 and sounded glorious doing it. The new engine is faster but soulless. All performance, no personality. It's like dating a robot. Technically superior but emotionally vacant. Even supposed sports cars are affected. The new Mercedes-AMG C63 with its 4-cylinder hybrid, 6,750 RPM limit. The old V8, 7,200 RPM of thunder. They'll tell you the new car is faster, but speed without sound isn't the same thing. Technically complete, but ultimately unsatisfying. The psychological impact is huge. Approaching redline used to be an event, a celebration of mechanical violence. Now the engine just stops, hitting a wall. No crescendo, no climax, just sudden silence. It's automotive blue balls, and manufacturers think we won't notice. Number 2 is lane keeping assistance that's becoming lane keeping dictatorship. These systems don't assist, they actively fight your steering inputs, second-guessing every move, turning driving into a wrestling match with your own car. The problem is terrible programming. Systems can't differentiate between intentional movements and drift. Avoiding a pothole? The car fights you back towards it. Taking a racing line through a corner? The system thinks you're leaving the lane and counter-steers. You're literally fighting your own car to go where you want. Construction zones are nightmares. Multiple lines, temporary markings, narrow lanes. The systems go insane, ping-ponging between inputs. German Autobahn construction regularly sees cars with lane keeping activated bouncing off barriers because the system got confused. The solution? Turn it off. Every single time you start the car. But here's the insidious part. Manufacturers are making these systems harder to disable. What used to be one button is now buried in 3 sub-menus. Some cars re-enable themselves every drive cycle. Others beep incessantly when disabled. They're conditioning you to accept electronic control through annoyance. The EU is mandating these systems on all new cars. Not optional, mandatory. You'll be forced to have a computer second-guessing your steering inputs, fighting your control, adding complexity to the simple act of pointing your car where you want. It's not safety, it's subjugation. The number 1 destroyer of driving pleasure, the incessant, maddening, soul-crushing beeping. Seatbelt chimes, speed warnings, door alerts, proximity sensors, lane departure buzzers, traffic sign recognition bongs, attention warnings, service reminders. Modern cars never shut up. Start a BMW and it beeps 8 times before you move. The seatbelt warning that continues for 2 minutes, the speed warning at 120 km per hour that can't be permanently disabled, the parking sensors that scream when a leaf blows past, the attention monitoring that beeps if you look at your mirror too long. It's psychological torture. The new EU regulations make it worse. From 2025, cars must beep when exceeding speed limits, not once, continuously. Imagine driving through a city with changing limits, construction zones, school areas. Beep, 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 beep. It's designed to make driving so unpleasant that you'll beg for autonomous cars. Some manufacturers let you disable warnings. For that drive only, every startup resets everything. 15 button presses to achieve silence, repeated daily. It's Chinese water torture, deliberately designed to break your will. They want you to submit to the electronic overlords. The combination is driving attention monitoring that watches your eyes. Look away for 3 seconds, beep. Hands relaxed on the wheel, beep. The car is literally monitoring your behavior and punishing deviation from program norms. It's not driving anymore. It's surveillance with wheels. These 9 killers aren't random degradation. They're coordinated murder. Every enthusiast feature eliminated, every electronic intervention added, every regulation imposed moves us towards the same destination. The end of human driving. They want us in autonomous pods, not cars. Passengers, not drivers. Consumers, not enthusiasts. The timeline is accelerating. Manual transmissions will be effectively extinct by 2030. Human-controlled cars will be banned from city centers by 2035. By 2040, driving yourself will be illegal on public roads in many European countries. This isn't conspiracy, it's stated policy in EU transport documents. But resistance isn't futile. Every manual transmission purchase sends a message. Every electronic aid disabled is a small rebellion. Every complaint to manufacturers matters. The industry follows money, and if enough people demand driver engagement, some manufacturers will provide it. Support the rebels. Mazda still believes in driving joy. Porsche fights for manuals. Alpine proves lightweight simplicity can exist. Gordon Murray builds the T50 with a screaming V12 and manual gearbox. These are the guardians of driving pleasure, and they need our support. The used car market is your friend. Buy the last great driver's car before they're gone. E46 M3s, 997 911s, Civic Type R FN2s. These will be the last purely mechanical performance cars. Preserve them, because nothing coming will match their engagement. Which driving pleasure killer angers you the most? Are you ready to accept autonomous transportation, or will you fight for the right to drive? Comment below with your last stand car, the one you'll keep running when everything else has electronic overlords. Subscribe for more brutal truth about the automotive industry's war on driving, because if we don't document this decline, future generations won't understand what we lost.